What's up guys? So in this video we're going to learn how to implement an image upload to Sanity. So let's test out what we'll be uploading. I can just quickly add my name, email address and some data. I can select an image, see a preview of that image, and also remove that image if I choose to. So let me select that back and then we click on submit. I see that the fields are cleared, which means our data has been submitted. So you can see the data right here as well as the image, and you can crop the image to the size you want and do whatever you want with it. And in this video we'll be focusing on uploading the image, because in the last video we talked about how to send other form data like name, email and bio. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. With that being said, let's dive right into the video. Alright, so I have VS Code opened, and as you can see I have some codes that are already up and running. So if I go back to the file, you can see right now we only have the name, the email and the bio. Like I said, I'll leave a link to the video where we learned how to send this data to our Sanity CMS. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is actually add the image field to our feeds array right here. So I'll quickly just do that and say the name should be image, and this can be whatever you want it to be. The title, be an image as well, and the type be an image. And we'll also add an options, and this will be hotspots. I'll set it to true. So I'll add this as a word. Okay, so basically what this hotspot does is that it allows you to crop your images when it's uploaded to Sanity. Alright, so this is out of the way. What we now need to do is to add the image field to our form. So I will go back top, not bottom, and I'll add it right here. So this will be image, and this will be null, and we'll set it as a file, or we'll set it as null as well. Then we also need to add a state to see the preview of the image as well. So I will call this image preview and set image preview, and this will be null. That image can still be a string, and we'll set it to null as well. So all this is just for basic check, so that TypeScript doesn't throw unnecessary errors. Okay, we'll still need to add the ref, so that we can reference to these preview images and can clear it out when we want to select a new one. So I will call this file input ref, and you can also do this with use state, but use ref just makes it easier. And this will be an HTML input. Let's go again, HTML input element, and this will be null initially. So let's bring in the use ref. Alright, so before we write the function to clear out the images through this file input right here, let's just display that or render the image field right here. So underneath the bio, let me just comment this out, call this name email. This would be bio. So now this bio, I'll call this image, and I will give this a class of input control. Or also add a label. This should be for image, and this will be the main image. This, I just realized this is not necessarily needed, but I'll just leave it, and I can get rid of this HTML4. Then I can also add the inputs, and this type, the type will be file because we are actually uploading a file, and we'll add this accept so that you can accept just images. So you can also make it to accept videos as well. And okay, these are just, let me just add the name because we did right here, so that we can easily send it to our CMS. Then I will say the name, and the name should be image. Alright, cool. So we want to also render right now we can see the image, but when we select it, let me click on this one. See, we are getting the screenshots, but we're not seeing that image yet. So we want to display that, the preview of the image we select right here. So I'll go back, and before the handle submit, I will create a function to handle the image change, and this will take this, I'll save this, then close this one out. This should be input element, close this out. This should open as like this. Alright, cool. So we'll create a variable called file, and we'll target the files, and make sure we are targeting just the first one. So the first, basically targeting the first file we choose, so that we don't get to select multiple images. And we'll say if there's a file, then we want to grab the set form data and basically spread over the form data, passing the file to the image that we have right here. And we also need to set the image preview to the URL, create object URL, and passing the file right here. So this method right here basically creates a temporary URL that we're going to pass to the preview image, so that we can update it to this set preview when we actually change it. Okay, now that we have this, I can go back to our image right here and add on change, passing the handle image change function, and make sure we are under the input. We'll check there's a preview image, and basically this will only show if we are trying to, we select the image that we want to preview. So I'll open parentheses and create a div, and we'll pass the image preview right here. And let me give this, okay, let me just leave it as it is right here. And you can also add an alt, so just say image preview. Alright, let's see if this is working now. So if I select, let me refresh my browser first. So if I select an image, okay, so it's coming through. And the reason why this is small is basically because I already set up the styles for most of all this already. So if in your own end the image might be bigger, depends on what image you actually select. Okay, so now this is coming, but we can't actually remove this. So what we want to do now is to get rid of the image preview and as well clear it out from this file right here. So I will head back to the top and I'll do this. Let me just do this here. Let me do this here. Now create another function. I'll call this clear image, and they're basically going to just set the form data and spread over the form data, then set the image to null, and this is not all. They will also need to set the image preview to null as well. And lastly, we'll say if the file input ref.current, so if there's a preview image, we'll just basically set the value to an empty string. So now we can come to our image preview right here, and we can say button, and we'll say this should happen on click. Then we'll pass in the clear image, and we also need to pass in the icon as well. So I would say this should be I tag with the class name of FA solid FAX. So let's see how it is. It's not looking fine, but this is not about styling. This is just to show you how it works. So let me get rid of it, and it's still showing right here. So let me refresh my browser again, try it one more time. Okay, so it's still showing you, which means we've not gotten rid of it. We're not getting rid of it properly. So let's see what we are missing. Okay, set image preview to no. Alright, so the issue is that we're not referencing it right here. So I'll quickly do this and say the ref should be the file input ref. So we'll also clear it directly from the input now. If I go back and refresh this time, let me select an image again. Let me get rid of it. Now you can see it's gone. Okay, so the next thing to do is to upload the image, and I tried a couple of ways, and I believe what I'm about to show you is the most easiest in my opinion. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be uploading the image separately and just pass it to this other data when we want to submit. Alright, so we'll go back to our VS Code, and I will come right here, and let me do it for the create user. I'll just call this upload main image, or let me just call it upload image. Then I'll call this image response. Then I can now wait and say this is going to be directed to API / upload image. I'm going to create this in a minute. This endpoint, I'm going to create it in a minute, and the method is going to be post, the body will be JSON, string the file, and we're going to send the image. And right now we set it to the form data dot image. I will change this shortly. Then the content type, so content type would be form data image, and I will just append the type right here. And lastly, we also pass in the file name, and this will be form data dot image, and passing the name as well. Cool. So this should be a comma, not semicolon, and we also have this exclamation mark so that we don't get any errors, and this should be right here. Okay, so the issue we are having right now is that we are passing the image as the actual image, but the best way to we are passing the image as an actual image, so we're passing it like so, but we want to send it as a URL. So what we'll do right now is, okay, before I do that, let me just get the actual results. I will say const image results, also await the image response JSON. Then I will say if there is no if the results image result is not successful, so we just throw new error and I say failed to upload image. Alright, so we actually do this on our server side. So we want to now create a helper function that will help us to read the image file as a URL. So this can be done if you are working on a bigger project. You can add this to a lib folder and just call that helpers and just pass it there. But in our case, I will just do this outside the form, and I'll call this say read file as data URL, and this is going to take the file, our actual image, and we also set this to a promise which will return a string, and this are throwing a bunch of errors because this is supposed to be a type of file, while we just need to return a new promise. This should be resolve, reject, let me scooch this down. Okay, so if you are curious on why we are using the promises, because reading a file actually is an asynchronous operation which takes some time to do. So adding a promise here will also make it fit when we are actually sending the REST request or the REST data to our backend. So what we need to do is to now create a variable called reader and set this to a new file reader. This is a method. So this file reader method is a built-in API that allows you to asynchronously read content of a file that is stored on our PC. So what we need to now do is to say if the reader is on load, then we want to resolve and say reader or results a string. Then if there's an error, so say if reader.error, we just want to reject. And lastly, we will say reader but read as data URL and passing the actual file, in our case the image. So this reader as data URL starts the process of reading the file and converts that file into a base 64 encoded string, which basically represents the file data. And we can use it directly in URLs, which then makes it possible to embed the image within our HTML file. I know this is hard to digest in one sitting, but basically just know that what this function is basically doing is that it's converting our image file to a base 64 encoded string, and that string represents the file data that can be used directly in URLs, which can enable us to embed the image within an HTML document. Alright, so now that we have that, we can come back to our, what am I doing? Okay, yeah, we can come back right here and just pass in that function and pass in the form data image. And this is telling us that is null, so we just add this exclamation mark right here to just get rid of that error. Alright, so next we want to create this image upload file. So I'll come to our API docs and say this should be upload image.txt. Again, make sure the name you use here matches what you have right here. So go back to this. So I'll just go to our create user and I'll copy everything right here and paste it here. I'll get rid of almost everything, so we don't necessarily need everything right here, as well as this part. I just need the return statement. I'll get rid of everything right here, as well as this one. I believe, let me just add some dummy data right here so I don't get an error from a TypeScript error. That's why I'm doing it. But with this now, I can just come back and create the function and await the request the text, and I will destructure some data from the body. And what are we destructuring? So we grab the image, the content type, and the file name. And this should not just be body, we should also pass it, so suggesting to passing the body right here. Alright, cool. So if I go back to our form, basically we are just extracting all this data that is being sent to our image, our upload image endpoint. So we'll just check if there's no image, and we'll throw new error. We'll just throw new error that says no image um, specified. Okay, no image specified. This will work. So if there's an image, come into the try and catch block, and basically what we want to do is to convert the base 64 string to a buffer. So you can do that by creating a buffer variable. I set this to buffer from, and we'll get the image and split this, start from the comma and grab the first one, set this to base 64. Okay, so what we are doing is that we are converting the base 64 string. So this will be in base 64 string. So I'll also console log this out. Call it image and just pass in the image. And I'll also show you when we actually try to upload the image. So we are converting this base 64 encoded string that we are getting into a buffer containing binary data. And this argument right here, especially the image displayed, what it does is that when we convert any image to base 64, the string usually includes a prefix that describe the data type. So it can be something like data image slash png base 64, something like this. This is the issue I ran into earlier, so something similar. So this dot split parentheses and this array of one basically get rid or remove these pads and leaving us with the actual base 64 data that can be something like this. I think IV, then some random string, which we can then convert into a buffer. I'm not going to lie, working with image is actually really hard. Now that we have this out of the way, we now want to send this to our CMS. So how do we do that? I will come down and call this assets, and this will be await, and we need to pass in our credentials. So I'll quickly create that. So we want to pass in our project ID and our data set and other necessary data that we need. So I just come to this source directory. Let me just do it right here. So I'll call this lib. Inside here I'll call this config.txt. Inside this config now I will import create clients from Sanity, and I will come back to image upload. I will copy this part, paste it right here. So I'll call this the client config, and I will say project ID should be our Sanity project ID. The data set is always production, so data set will be Sanity data set. It should be comma. I keep adding semicolon, I don't know why. Then the token should be Sanity token. So we want to let Sanity know that we are sending an image file. That's how we're actually creating the client config right here. Then we will set the use CDN, set it to false. And you can also add the API version. Now just set this to 2021. I think it's updated now, but I'll leave it at this. This works fine too. It should be 6th. Alright, now we just need to export. I'll call this client and pass in the create client and pass in the client config. Okay. Now we can come back right here and say this should be client dot assets dot upload, and we also need to bring in the client as well. Then we'll pass in the image right here because we want to upload to image. We want to upload to an image. What is it called again? So to the image field. That's how I'm passing the image. So make sure what you put here is the same as what you have here. And then we also need to pass in the buffer, which is now in binary format, and we'll then pass in the content type. Should be content type and the file name as well. Alright, now that we have this, we'll come here and set this to sources, and this should be true. I'll also pass in the assets so that we can have an error if it fails to upload. Alright, cool. And we can also pass in changes, something, say failed to upload image again. We can still leave it as something went wrong. Still fair. Alright, so we've been able to write the function to allow us to upload image, but now what we need to do is to pass in the image with the other form data so that we can upload everything at once. So before this response right here, I will just create another. I will just call this form data, let's just say with image. And what we are doing is that we will spread over the form data, so all the data, and we're just adding the image. So this image now will be an array, and the type will be image. Then target the assets and also set the type to reference, and the ref now should be the image result dot assets dot underscore id. So all these I can't, is basically hard to explain because they are the ways to pass in images to Sanity. So this is just the way. It's not something you can just pass in the image right here. So you need a type and asset fields as well. Okay, now we just need to replace this with the form data with image right here. And lastly, we need to add the image to the user data file. So we'll go back to the create user, and I will just pass in image right here. and this should be image, and this should be what, image. So let me just open my terminal and go back, and let's see if this is going to work. So I'll just say John Doe, say John Doe at gmail.com, then add some text, also select image. Then let me open my dev tools as well, just in case we run into any errors. And fingers crossed. Okay, we have an error. And let's head back to our code. Our image is empty, so we are not receiving. Let me go to our upload image. Now we are not getting the image, which means our read file as data is not working as it should. So let me go through it again. It's returning a promise. Actually passing the readout method. This is fine. I think the issue is coming from how it's sending. Oh, okay. This should be our weight. I think this is why. So we need to add our weight, and I remember I said this is asynchronous. So this should be a weight, and let's see if it's going to work this time. Say John Doe again, and say better work. So let's try again. Okay, now it's submitting. Okay, so all fields are required. There was an error. Okay, so let's take a look. So you can see now we are getting the data. You can see it's quite lengthy. I can't even get the entire data. So you are seeing it right here. So it basically strips out this part, and this is the part we are sending. Okay, let me go back to my image upload, and let me get rid of it right here. Go back. I think that was a 400 error. So let's try it again. Let's see if we're missing any field. John Doe, gmail.com. Okay, let me see. So it's creating coming from the create user. So all fields are required. So let me go back. The create user. Oh, again, this should have an exclamation mark. Alright, so hopefully this time it should work. So okay, so our data has been saved, and we can also check if it came true. Now you can see we have the entire data with the name, the bio, and the image as well. So also lastly, just clear these form fields. So go back to our form and say if we have the data. I just clear the image right here, and on this finally can set the form data to name should be an empty string, then image should be now, the image should be empty, and then the bio as well should be empty. Okay, so let's try submitting it again, and you can see all the data are empty, and now we have two of it right here. So this video is getting way longer than I expected it to be, but you can see we have two documents that are actually the same, and you don't actually want something like this. So let me know if you need another video on how to check if you have a user and through a 400 message, a complete message, letting that user know that they've already submitted their data, or you can as well figure it out yourself. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. Do well to leave your questions in the comments, and also share the video if you found it helpful. Till next time.